What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and Eric Bischoff is usually joining Steve Kaufmann and Christy Olson and I with After 83 Weeks, but he's en route to Chicago for a tremendous show in, I guess, homage of the great Steve Mongo McMichael, right, in Chicago. But I have some friends with me, the aforementioned Steve Kaufmann and Christy Olson, and there's been some stuff brewing, right, guys?
Hell yeah, there's been some stuff brewing. Also, Top Guy Weekend for those on the ad-free shows world. That's also what's happening in Chicago. It's Top Guy Weekend, but then moneyformongo.com is the live stream. I just got permission, I think, yesterday. That live stream, that super show, that's happening, I think I have it in 16 different locations right now. Wow. So if you don't see that super show, you're not looking. Is what I'm telling people.
It's there. It's Top Guy Weekend. And I mean, we're not here. I mean, Chrissy, we thought Steve was going to be there, but also, there have been calls for you to be at Top Guy Weekend. And unfortunately, that's not happening this particular Top Guy Weekend. Am I right?
No, that's right. I'm here in Vegas, but every time it comes around, I get excited for all the people who are going because I know they always have such a great time, and I would love to meet the ad-free shows community very, very much so. Those are my homies. So maybe next time, I'm here alone. I'm doing the single fur mom thing this week, so no travel for me in the cards. But my special guest of honor, you might hear him barking on and off tonight. So. You can understand why I
absolutely.
have to keep my butt at home. My demanding chihuahua.
Got two pugs out here just like, what are you doing? More attention to me. More attention to me is what Pugsley and Darla are saying. But no, we've been gone for a couple weeks, right? I think about 2 or 3. I kind of lost count, right? Theoretically.
I definitely lost count.
Yes.
2 for sure, possibly 3.
Possibly 3, right? But that doesn't mean that the wrestling rumor mill has stopped. It kind of ramped up, right? Especially leading into Chicago, right?
Very much so. The wrestling rumor mill is, I'd say, out of control. In short, I think it's completely out of control. I think there's a lot happening that I think somebody needs somebody to kind of put it all together for them, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I might have a solution by way of these guys, right? So I guess right off the top.
I can never get my pointing right.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. Somewhere here. But, we're kind of well into the Vinceless regime of the WWE. We're seeing Triple H's vision. How are you guys liking it so far?
The thing that does it for me is that there is a renewed faith in being able to sit down and watch Raw and SmackDown, right? People hear that we're under a new regime and they get excited, not only just because we all are under the impression that Vince had become somewhat of a hindrance with his perfectionism and things always having to be his way. So we're interested in how it's going to go when someone else is at the helm. But then we got Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at the helm, so we know with Triple H having such a great track record of building NXT and making shows there, doing TakeOver and making shows that we all really wanted to tune into. There's that excitement back again on Raw and SmackDown as well, and NXT, who are getting bigger ratings than they have in quite a while as well. So just the fact that everybody is excited about it again makes me excited.
Do you concur, Steve Kaufmann?
I do concur. I want to follow up and say what I found fascinating. I didn't realize it until the last 2 or 3 weeks. In the last 10 years, the parts and the stuff that Monday Night Raw and to a lesser extent SmackDown, like the main roster stuff that I've enjoyed the most, Triple H has been heavily involved in. Not always on screen, but like Finn Balor becoming the first Universal Champion, Kevin Owens coming up from NXT and facing John Cena, like a lot of NXT guys coming up and doing cool stuff. I remember it was Sami Zayn coming up and facing John Cena, and then he like injured his shoulder. And then even like more recent, I'd say 2018, 2019, where it was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa coming up to a Monday Night Raw, presumably to go into the main roster. I'm thinking through, these are the moments that really made Raw must watch for me. And they didn't exist until most recently. I said Tommaso Ciampa paying homage to Harley Race after there was a whole package about how cool the U.S. title is. That has Triple H's handprints all over it, and I'm more excited to watch weekly WWE TV now than I have been in easily 4.5 years. Like, pre-COVID era, that was appointment viewing for me, and then it fell off right around then.
Well, kudos to you for kind of sticking in during COVID, because I think I was good for 6 months, right, of the 2-year pandemic. And it was just like, I don't know, I think right after like COVID mania, that was kind of my I'm good.
I think we all, like, no one's going to watch those COVID manias ever again. Like, because it's not the first 2-night WrestleMania, but it was most certainly that WrestleMania was insane. That swamp match, or not the swamp match, but that Bray Wyatt match was, I'd say, a piece of cinematic gold. That Undertaker match is an excellent last match for him. Also a cinematic match. But I do think that Edge, was it Edge Randy Orton that was the longest WrestleMania match ever?
And billed us the greatest.
I'm still watching it.
You're still. That was the next pay-per-view, Backlash. They headlined it as the greatest match ever, and it was Randy Orton and Edge, and that was also like very cinematic. And it was an interesting time. That, like, I think both the interest and the lack of anything else to do or watch is what kept me sticking with WWE programming through, I'd say, right up to the Thunderdome era. And so the Thunderdome is where they lost me as a tech guy, that I really felt that there was way more they could have done with the Thunderdome, that they outright decided not to. Like, nope, it's going to be screens. We're going to pump in audio.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard sell to get anybody to watch any of that back. I think probably that whole library of 2 years is not nearly as valuable as everything else they have. I, for one, because I don't want to be reminded of COVID era. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not watching any reality shows, any scripted TV, anything that incorporates it or reminds me that we went through that, Thunderdome included.
No, that makes sense. I mean, there's a kind of a feeling within the comic community that nobody wants to do COVID jokes anymore. Like, you're almost going to be booed out of the club, not by the consensus of people that are watching you, but your fellow comics if you do a COVID joke in 2022. It's just nobody wants to revisit that.
Well, yeah, and just in the way of how like Netflix schedules works, it takes a while to actually get those specials out. I feel like a lot of the new ones I'm turning on now start with, "Oh man, so great to be outside again." And I'm like, click, next, sorry.
No, I kind of feel that consensus. But we've got the chats. We got Mick. Hey, dudes. Rocky Nelson Sr. saying good evening, all. Digging the Texas Tornado shirt, of course. Hey, baby. I want to.
That was to me.
Oh, is it really?
That was.
No, I thought he was quoting the Bing Bong TikTok video.
No, Mick Mac and I have something special. That was for me.
Steamy.
That's
steamy.
Okay.
It is 115 degrees in this room. It is steamy.
It is totally for you. And Coach
Rosenbaum.
Yes, Coach Rosie saying I'm headed to the hotel. So I hope you enjoy your weekend in Chicago, Chi-Town. Have a little Chi-Town rumble with the top guys. I love it.
Top guy fam. And I know Coach Rosie brings his kids a lot, and they have like a whole family affair. And even if it's just him, maybe having a little, guys weekend, whatever the case, I'm sure they're going to have so much fun. And I just love to hear, we really get to know these people. And it's like, oh, they're there. I feel like I'm there with them. Like, yay.
Yes, absolutely. And Steve, did you get a
Lamington? Mick Mac was in my mentions recently. I believe it was last weekend. I like to call it the Big Breakfast, Sunday Big Breakfast. It's a the bodega right by my house. They do croissants the size of your head, and then they'll make you a sandwich in that croissant. So I do 3 eggs with provolone, and they do a really good sauce. They chop up a really good sausage there, a big cup of coffee, and then I top it off. They sell donuts, and I top it off with a bear claw. And I posted all that Sunday, and then he chimed back with, you should try a Lamington instead of the bear claw. And I Googled it, and I didn't get a clear answer, but from what I can tell, a Lamington is an Australian breakfast pastry. And it's either confection or it's chocolate, and with either topped with confection sugar, which yes, hooray, or coconut, which no, never. Stop talking to me. Is where I'm at, and
It looks like there's some jam or jelly involved here.
Yes, sorry,
too.
it's like it's filled with a jam or a jelly, and then it's on top. It looked wonderful. I also Googled if there were any Australian bakeries where I'm at, and there aren't currently.
No.
Micmac, get at me. We'll figure this out. Unless there's coconut, at which point pick another breakfast pastry, please.
There you go.
This is coconut.
Wow.
And
We don't mess with coconut here.
And our friend George Ramos is saying, yes, the Edge Randy Orton match was, billed as the greatest WrestleMania match ever. And
We need our encyclopedia here, G-Herm.
Yes. But the longest WrestleMania match was Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, the Iron Man match.
Because that was 60 plus the. Yeah, okay, that's right.
Yeah, they went to overtime, right?
Yeah, so it was an hour. I just pulled it up. I was ahead of the class. It was an hour, 1 minute, and 56 seconds. It's the longest WrestleMania match ever. I was wrong.
So do you guys think we're going to be getting any hour-long matches with Triple H in charge?
No, hell no. Please not. I mean,
just never again in general. People don't have the attention span for that anymore.
It was special when it was Bret and Shawn, right? And even that in my head is marred because of Shawn Michaels saying, "Hey, tell Abner to tell Bret to get out of the fucking ring," right? Like I had such affinity in my mind for that match, and it just kind of blows it because of Shawn's attitude at the time. Apparently he's different, but I kind of hold a grudge still.
Yes, and he's one of the main coaches down at NXT and really has a big hand in the TV product as well. And maybe he will decide that, the world should get another chance at an hour-long Iron Man match with him as the producer, not as the in-ring talent. So, you never know. Maybe they will take another stab at it.
Ooh, so a tangent. Uh-oh. If we look, I'll pull it up right now. If we look at www.com/superstars and then we go to NXT, who on the NXT roster currently would we want to see a 60-minute Iron Man match from?
Anyone but Ciampa and Gargano.
Yeah.
I think
I don't
they're
know
both,
if they're even at NXT anymore,
not,
but can just
those
we're so
two,
over all of that. And
those two are finally not on NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It took one of them literally leaving the company.
Right. 8 years.
So I'm just perusing it. Roderick Strong is my first one.
Okay.
So I would love a 60-minute Iron Man match with Roderick Strong and JD McDonough.
Okay.
Those two would put on an excellent match. And or Apollo Crews. Mm-hmm. Apollo Crews and either of those people. And then for different reasons, no, that wouldn't make a good Iron Man match. I was about to say Cameron Grimes and Tony D'Angelo, and I'm like, that would be a terrible Iron Man match. Wonderful match with two very top-level entertainers. Performance-wise, no, I don't actually want to see that. But let me know in the chat, who is your NXT current roster 60-minute Iron Man match?
I'm still trying to pull up the roster, but here's an interesting thought. What if we switched it up a little bit? They had such success a couple years ago with the Women's Evolution and women having their own pay-per-view match. All that seems to have sort of been thrown to the wayside as just a trend, really, and nothing more. What if we revisit that a little bit and do our first ever, women's hour-long Iron Woman match? Triple H is definitely the guy who can make something like that happen. And, I think with some of the veterans they have, not necessarily that Mandy Rose would be the one to do that, but I think they definitely have a strong roster of women right now that they could put together something like that.
Well,
so Meiko Satomura and Roxanne Perez. Book it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was the Roxy, right? The Ring of Honor Women's Champion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Meiko Satomura and
anyone.
Be a splashy choice, Tiffany Stratton. I think Tiffany Stratton as an athlete could go 60 minutes, and Meiko Satomura as an old guard athlete, as an old guard wrestler, could really not carry her through, but can really get her through a 60-minute match. Those two matchups would be great. I just love Meiko Satomura. That's where I started.
Yes. Well, I love Tiffany, and I think she could use something like that to really make people have faith in her, right?
Yeah.
We all know she's got the look. Let's give her that opportunity.
Well, and then she's got the look and the entertaining vibes. That like what I love is if you see a character and then you find a way to make that character over as a performer. So if you put Tiffany Stratton in, we're on this example, a 60-minute Iron Woman match with Meiko Satomura, where they're 2-2 until the final 5 minutes. Like, I really think that would give an extra element to her character, which is a very entertaining character, is on top of that, like, yo, she went 60 minutes with Meiko Satomura. Do you think Mandy Rose stands a chance? Really? Like, I think that really adds some depth, and I like that.
Yeah. I'm on it.
Yeah. And just kind of an NXT overall. Rocky Nelson Sr. asks, do you think they should have more scouts for independent wrestling? We know, I mean, in years gone by, it's been Regal, it's been Gerald Briscoe, a litany of different people. What's your kind of take on scouts now that there's a new regime? They're no longer the Johnny Ace kind of rubric for judging talent.
I think the only scout they need in 2022 is Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And I'm being real here. Part of what makes a superstar is entertaining, getting yourself over, getting people to love or hate you, but have some kind of a reaction to you. That equals directly social engagement, follower numbers, and just the fact that we can see people's work right online and how fans respond to it. So, I just don't know that we need that anymore. I think anyone on the independent scene who they're going to be interested in can get on their radar without a Jerry Briscoe.
Now, it's kind of drawing back to what you were saying about Tommaso Ciampa and the Harley Race reference and what have you, right? I don't think you would get a Tommaso Ciampa on TikTok and conveying that level of entertainment value that he has. Like, honest to goodness, I didn't see too much of him in Ring of Honor. The Sicilian psychopath, it wasn't really clicking for me.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Adam, but if Tommaso Ciampa was an indie guy in 2022 trying to get signed with the passion that he has, the confidence that he has, knowing that he was going to make it to WWE and be a main eventer someday, he would be working the social media angle. Trust me.
And he'd find, and if he didn't want to personally be involved in social media, he would find somebody to do it for him.
Absolutely.
And I think people talk a lot about, or people are going in the coming years, they're going to talk a lot about the creator economy. And similar to NFTs or Bitcoin or blockchain, like a lot of it is going to be vibes. But what you can really mean by the creator economy is similar to my whole career. If you're a YouTube person who likes pro wrestling, you can find a way to get people over on YouTube and then make money on the ads. Your specialization. So similarly, if Tommaso Ciampa, or a good example, Tyler Bateman, Southern California wrestler here, his presence is pretty good now, but there was a time where it might not have been. There's somebody else can come along and be like, hey, I understand the social media stuff. You understand the wrestling stuff. Let's work together. And as we both move forward, I can get recognized for being good at social media, and then you can get recognized for being good at pro wrestling. To Christy's point, I'm an old man, I'm a Luddite, I don't like the internet, is not an excuse in 2022.
No, and there are few bigger niches than pro wrestling online.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Steve, I don't have to tell you, Mr. Plaques on the wall.
So well aware that that's overall, that's kind of how it has to be. That, like, so if any independent wrestlers are watching right now, or like prospective independent wrestlers, if you deep down inside are like, I don't get YouTube, like I don't get social media, there are people in the world who get that. The key is to have them get you, and then you're fine. That's the way. That's the way to. And then we mentioned Gary Vee right before we went on. The Gary Vee strategy of he admitted he made up the number, but like the Gary Vee strategy of 34 pieces of content a day, and how I can always tell where people are on their posting journey, how they respond to the idea of 34 pieces of content a day. It's not until you open that PDF that's completely free that you realize that what he means by a piece of content is a screenshot of a tweet that you made an Instagram story. Like some content, as he pertains it, is very low resource. But it's the idea of reframing your mind to get good at that. But we're talking about wrestling. I took us way off
No, I myself have just been listening to a whole bunch of that kind of stuff coming from Gary V. And I think no matter what industry you're in, or no matter what kind of pop culture thing you love to suck up, social media is a big part of that.
Very much so. That, like, you also just, I'll get off the subject, I swear. I've made a living by understanding that getting something made and then getting something seen are two completely different jobs. And, like, there's something to be said about somewhere right now on YouTube is the greatest thing in the world that you have ever seen. And it has less than 100 views, and it's been up for years. Mm-hmm. It's not a meritocracy. They don't know, like, YouTube doesn't know what you're posting. Try as they might. Getting people to know what you're doing and when it's coming out is its own job. Mm-hmm. And we should all strive to make enough money that we can pay that person. If we're public figures. Obviously, if you're an accountant. If you're an accountant, the only person that needs to know you're an accountant is the person who hires you as an accountant.
True. Well, to bring it back to pro wrestlers, having a presence there, talking about a Tommaso Ciampa type, actually taking advantage of it in 2022, it would help them get indie bookings as well, right? Like, it's just a different world now.
Indie bookings, cameos, patrons, OnlyFans. No, that.
There's a lot more ways to make money than to just get a contract with WWE or AEW nowadays.
Yes.
Which also, I mean, anybody read through the tea leaves of there was people that were getting like 6 figures with just like Twitch and whatever. Now with this new regime, do they get to keep that money, or is that?
So my understanding is it's been in everyone's contract vaguely for more than 5 years that I believe they called it new media revenue. Any new media revenue stream needs to be turned over to us, and it's going to go against your downside guarantee. And it was only in the pandemic when everyone was home and actually had time to stream, because pre-pandemic, Zelina Vega was on the road 250 days a year. She's not going to be on Twitch twice a day.
Right. Even in Adam Cole is at the PC Monday through Friday and doing shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That, like, it was less, there was less of a need to enforce it back then. Right. It was around the summer of 2020 when wrestlers were finding a way to get their own money. Zelina Vega is obviously the biggest example of this. That all of a sudden they're asking for that login and that money over the contract or leave. Zelina Vega notably left. And do we know anything about her contract when she came back? Because she's on Twitch still.
Yeah.
Adam Cole announced that he was going back now as well in the last few weeks.
I wonder so hypothetically, and I don't have inside information, if I were a pro wrestler who had a Twitch stream and then left the company because they asked me for the money from the Twitch stream against my downside guarantee and said, no, I'd rather quit, and then quit. If I come back, wouldn't you think I would specifically carve out my Twitch stream from my contract?
Yes, absolutely.
So if Johnny Gargano left and came back, if Zelina Vega left and came back, my presumption would be there's some type of carve out for that revenue stream. But I've been screaming it from the rooftops ever since they started doing this. If they want Xavier Woods' login, he needs to tell them it makes X per month, and that's how much more per month you're going to owe me if you want that login.
Because it's a commodity.
It's a buyout. Like, I think, but I think so many people were up in arms about the idea that a lot of them weren't thinking business wise or contract wise of literally, okay, it makes $5,000 a month. If you want it, it's $5,000 a month, and then I'll stop doing it.
Well, and just to play devil's advocate for just a moment as well, let's be reminded the way WWE looks at it is that they made you. Your following is every single follower you have is because they put you on TV. Everybody knows your name and knows where to type in to follow you at and to watch your channel and all that. And when they see your name and your face in a thumbnail, they know who that is. And that is all thanks to WWE, according to them. So I feel like Of course, they think, of course, they're going to take that money. Of course, that's theirs. Of course, that belongs to them. Just the same as it would if they helped you get in a movie, and helped you negotiate that contract. They see it all as being the same. Like, they made you, it's theirs.
True.
That's not going to change.
I think what could change is the contract part of it. And I hope for Johnny Gargano's sake that that's what happened. That he left, he came back, and it was like, cool, I have an established Twitch stream now. So you can either buy it out for how much it made last month, and then I'll stop. Or you can carve it out in my contract, and then I get to continue.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's not forget that in the case of Zelina Vega, it was in their very, very, very best interest to get her back on the roster with the waves that she was making in the world of unionization, if we remember. So she would have definitely had some leverage there to get whatever she wanted.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. Nobody ever talks about that anymore. I guess it's because, it's not like it was her responsibility to fix the world of pro wrestling. I hope she's happy and well taken care of.
100%.
It is unfortunate that you threatening to try and maybe unionize your workplace has become a thing you do just to get yourself better pay. It's literally the opposite of collective bargaining. It's like, no, I'm going to threaten the collective bargaining. Well, we're not sure
that was
I have no idea.
Zelina's motive at the beginning, but
no, I think she truly believed in a union when she said it, and then.
Well, there's a certain way that Sting, Lex Luger, Shawn Michaels, Ted DiBiase went with their lives when a lot of people had turned their backs on them because of their backstage behavior or substance abuse, right? So basically fighting the good fight, being a voice of the voiceless, become turning a new leaf in your life, theoretically speaking. I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me, but there's not enough people who have done it in the manner that Zelina has done. So shout out to Zelina. I hope she got what she wanted.
I'm sure she wasn't expecting them to get rid of her husband just weeks later.
That's when it doesn't work out the best.
Remember all this crazy stuff that happened, guys? We were just saying there was so much crazy stuff happening today. Remember the last 5 years of pro wrestling?
Speaking of I guess bargaining and what have you, but Bobby Fish's AEW contract is expiring.
Expired August 31st.
Oh, it's done now.
Expired yesterday.
As of today.
So, a couple things, and I've only heard headlines on this, so I could be dead wrong. But it's my understanding that the precedent has been set that there are people who have expired contracts at AEW who continue to work there for a certain amount of time while they renegotiate, including up to and including one of their founders, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes' talent contract expired, and it got reported on, and everyone was making a big deal out of it, and a lot of people were saying we shouldn't have made a big deal out of it. And then all of a sudden he winds up in another company, and one of those people turned out to be wrong. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Bobby Fish around. I wouldn't be shocked if they still see value in him, but they're letting his contract expire to show him exactly where that value is, which is the value we see in you is, yes, we would love to keep paying you to come back. However, we don't see enough value in you to lock you down. And if you could go elsewhere, you should.
Yeah, that's a dangerous game for someone like a Bobby Fish to be playing. When I think about Bobby Fish, I don't mean to sound harsh, but he's the third guy, right? Not in a third man, cool kind of a way, but he's just the third guy. He's the least of the three of them, right? They all came into NXT together and caused a big fuss, and then eventually, came together in AEW as well, and it just reeked of more of the same. And that's what I feel like with Bobby Fish. You just keep seeing him playing the same role, having the same kind of matches, being the third guy to Adam Cole and Bobby, whatever the hell his name was, Kyle O'Reilly. I'm sorry. I know Kyle. So that was my initial thought when I thought about him getting released. It's like, yeah, does he bring that much valuable? That being said, you know who I would have said the exact same stuff about being the third guy and he's just the least of all the three not that many years ago? Can you guess?
Are you going to say Roderick Strong?
I'm going to say Jon Moxley.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, I called him a mid-carder till probably halfway through the beginning of his AEW career, just because that was my impression. That is what we had been given of Jon Moxley, right? Was that he just wasn't up to par. He's not a main event guy. He's not a champion. He's not a world champion. He is now. So I say all that stuff about Bobby Fish possibly being, of very little value, just to say that, that could change, I guess.
I think that was Bobby Fish calling. I think he's trying to let us know.
No, 100%. He was trying to get in and negotiate a contract for a podcast that I guess you, Steve, are going to produce. That's what I hear. No? I'm going to start rumors.
This is the first I'm hearing it.
Big audience for that one.
I'm going to start first rumors. I'm hearing it, but my DMs aren't open to everybody, but they're open to him. So if that's something he's interested in, or he's just interested in exploring, we'll call it independent revenue streams. I charge a very reasonable hourly rate to consult. Reasonable for him, not. It's y'all know it.
Not for poor people.
I didn't say
he's not for poor people.
I didn't say not for poor people. I said reasonable for people who make reasonable for people who could make millions in the next 5 years.
Theoretically speaking.
Yeah, like in the abstract, like he is a performer that could continue to make a bunch of money. I don't love speculating too far beyond when someone's contract expires, but how do we feel about this fact that AEW just lets a contract expire and then they don't officially release anyone ever?
So, I mean,
I think the inventor of the contract is resting peacefully in his grave.
Well, okay, so I mean, obviously we heard of the future endeavors, right? Under Vince's regime, right? So this is a way of not doing it. But I mean, we've heard from like a Joey Janela and Marco Stunt and a couple other people about how Tony Khan, who if he's interested in you, you've got an open door policy with him until he's done playing with you. You're the discarded toy. He's the Andy. You're the menagerie of toys that are in the toy box, and then it's persona non grata. So, I mean, is that more humane than a future endeavor deal or not? I don't know.
I guess those of us who follow the ins and outs of the product very closely would like to know right now what the full situation is, because that's what we're talking about. That said, I don't think it's ultimately our business unless they make it our business. That said, I think AEW likes to book for the millions of people who watch wrestling on the internet. So maybe they could be better served with making their releases public.
Exactly. And AEW is that kind of a company. That being said, what the hell was I going to say? Oh, they seem to be trying to combat this sort of idea that maybe the contracts expiring, Joey Janela and who was the other one, the little guy, Marco Stunt, not having great experiences in the end. AEW seems to be trying to do something about that. They've hired some new people and moved people into positions of talent relations and things like that. They seem to have heard that criticism and want to do better. We're not sure, like we're saying, what do better is if we're not future endeavoring people. Is it an announcement? My guess is with the way that they do things at AEW, there's going to be some attempt to put the control back in the talent, let them make the announcements, give them some sort of final permanent answer, don't Bobby Fish him if that's what's happening, where he's there and maybe you'll be back next week and maybe you won't, but give people a definite answer so they can make their decisions and make their announcements and handle it the way that they want to. It may be the biggest thing that ever happens to them. Having their contract expire, being fired, whatever it is, it may be the biggest thing that ever happens in their life. Let them have some control over how it plays out.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, more like Bobby Flounder in the AEW.
That was him.
Yeah, that was.
Yes, Big Mac.
No,
I initially read that as Bobby May Flounder in NXT, and I was like, "Oh, fish pun!" And then I realized it was more direct than that.
Yeah, kudos.
The one I avoided this entire time was, I don't know, wherever he goes, I think he's gonna flounder in the mid card, and I'm like, can we be better?
There you go. I mean, he had
such a halibut a joke. That's
Nice.
no. I forced that.
Nice.
No, don't laugh at
I
that.
wanted to put like salmon in there, but it just didn't fit. So
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, my head is spinning. I'm
Yeah.
like, pike,
Sorry.
walleye, goldfish,
I'm with
stunning.
the music and the MMA and the wrestling.
Make a joke.
I can't-
Make a joke.
Yeah.
I love pike, walleye, goldfish is where your head went.
But, I mean, Bobby did, at least from my vantage point, have one good AEW Dark match, like a singles one. But again, who's watching AEW Dark?
Well, and also AEW Dark is kind of it's more not developmental. It's not the NXT, right? But it's where we want to see the young hot newbies, not the Bobby Fishes.
Oh, 100%. So, with that all being said, there was actually a debut last night on Rampage. Big Cass, W. Morrissey, in Impact Wrestling, made his debut, which it's kind of weird. Like, for a guy who was for his role, he was in a pretty centerpiece spot in WWE with Enzo, in that whole deal. They never won a title collectively, either in NXT or main roster. Enzo got the Cruiserweight title. But, I mean, yes, Big Cass, W. Morrissey has made strides, but, I mean, look at the what is it? The Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, Hoyt, or whatever. Like, he's just gonna be another guy, and I don't know who in 2022 are clamoring for W. Morrissey matches. But
I'm not going to make this about him. I think he's a fine performer, and if you put him in the correct position, he'll draw you money. My worry is, what role is he filling in AEW that Miro can't fill, that Wardlow can't fill, that Lance
Archer.
Lance Archer can't fill. And I'm already
Indian
forgetting.
gentleman.
I know there's a fourth man, and I don't even remember. Like, my worry isn't him, his ability, or just his prowess. My worry is where they're slotting him. They're slotting him to be almost forgotten because they have too much. They have too big a roster. So I'm worried for him for that. That said, he looks great. From what he did last night, he looked great. Everything else I've seen him do post WWE, he looks great. I don't have anything negative to say about him as a performer or as a character. I'm just worried they haven't given him enough to sink his teeth into, that 3 weeks from now we're going to be like, where's Cass?
No, but that tells me that this is going to be another one-off. And this actually wasn't his AEW debut. I believe it may have been his Dynamite debut, but he had another appearance with AEW before. And so they already got out of him the news that W. Morrissey, who nobody knows, nobody's ever going to remember that name or know who you are, has already been there. So they've done this once. And the fact that there isn't a lot of story or a lot of meat on the bone, as you say, Steve, makes me think that this is going to be another one-off, that they're just bringing people in as sort of like favors and cute and whatever. Like, his girlfriend does the backstage interviews. And where is this going? Probably a whole lot of nowhere. Could they use more big guys on their roster? Absolutely. Absolutely. The guys that you were naming, the fact that we know there's only 4 big guys on the roster and we can name them all means that they already fill a spot and he could do something else by being in matches up against them. So I would argue that AEW could use another big guy on the roster, but why him? Why now? We don't know, and they haven't told us.
Yeah, and again, it's not to say I'm not a fan of his work or what have you.
Right.
He's a serviceable big guy, right? That's
and a nice guy.
Yeah,
Nice guy. He's cleaned up his act, who we're all rooting
his
for.
redemption story is amazing, right?
Yeah.
To passing out face down in the ECW arena at his lowest, to where he is now, where a lot of people in other organizations are kind of like, oh, he could have been Impact champion and what have you. So, he's worked his way off to the top of the card, right? But again, you've got the 7-foot Indian gentleman. You got the, you've got.
So actually, I have it pulled. I have their roster page pulled up right now. It's Parker Bordeaux, definitely fills that role.
Yeah.
Keith Lee, I'd say could fill that role. Mm-hmm. In the same vein, I could say Samoa Joe can fill the role of a big man. And then I'm just looking, Brody King, he's a very big man.
Exactly.
True.
Brian Cage, if you shoot him right, he's a very big man.
Yes. And all those are names that even if those guys haven't had the same opportunities that Big Cass got in WWE, those are all names we know. Those are guys we know. Those are guys who we know when they come out, we know what we're going to get from them. We don't even know what W. Morrissey, we don't know who he is. We don't know what he gives. Like, what is it giving? We don't know yet, right? I think even if you've watched him in TNA, no one should ever make any opinions based on what they've seen in TNA. But my point is like all those guys would be a much better choice for whatever spot they're putting W. Morrissey
in. I want to believe that W. Morrissey is a Smith at heart.
So how much you want to? So how much you want to bet whatever they're paying W. Morrissey, they were paying Bobby Fish, and that accounting wise, this all makes sense.
Wow, Steve. No, I think you may be onto something there. Tony's just got his mind of like we need like his quota of former WWE guys that he has to have to play with like every week, and he's
I don't know.
What a one brings back another one.
Which I mean, crazy enough because I don't know. Do you want to talk about Rosa or just general AEW stuff? Because
I think she wants to talk about Thunder Rosa specifically.
Okay, so
Thunder
Rosa injury / backstage heat going into All Out. Christy, you're chomping at the bit. Let's go to you.
I am, well, and mostly because I want to hear what you guys have to say, but I'm going to just repeat the old adage that, if everyone has a problem with you, it might be you. And I was rooting for Thunder Rosa. Her getting the opportunity at the women's title was something that, I guess it's not up to me to judge whether it was deserved or whether it was time or not, but she got that opportunity. And it certainly seems like she was trying to do the most with it. But in my opinion, it just wasn't working. Her being the champion wasn't working anyway. She knows that. And, again, I think you have to work with people and you have to be kinder. And if you want things to work in your job, you gotta cooperate a little bit. I don't know. Again, if everyone says it's you, it's probably you, girl. I'm sorry. You seem fun and cute, but be nice.
It's yes, Steve, let's go.
Karma, physical karma. Sorry, I thought I was done.
No,
please.
That shit comes back and bites you. You know what I mean? You injure people, now you're injured. Talk to me about karma.
I mean, yeah.
So I have to be diplomatic. I don't know that she's been mean to other people. Obviously we've all heard reports that she has been.
And do you feel that you have seen on camera, live on television, on YouTube, you've seen her in matches treat other wrestlers in a way that even as not a trained wrestler, is not right?
As an outsider, I could be led to that conclusion given video footage, yes. What I'm going to point out specifically is her run as women's champion was lackluster, but not by her own pen.
Really? You think her promos that she cut clearly were just her getting the go-ahead to go out there and say what she wanted? Did you think that those were effective?
I thought those were effective. I don't think the way they let people cut promos in AEW is always as effective as it could be. And what I mean is they put her in a position to be like, this is the loose creative, go out there and cut a promo. Where some performers might need a bit more structure and story to fill in that promo. That said, I didn't believe Serena Deeb could beat her. And the fact that they made the Serena Deeb Thunder Rosa thing somehow involve Dustin Reynolds was really confusing to me. And I don't think they slotted her as the women's champion. Without even counting, I can guarantee you Jade Cargill was on TV more at the exact same time as Thunder Rosa, the women's champion, allegedly the bigger championship. And none of that is her fault. All of that is the people who held the pen and decided when and when not to put her on actual television. Bell to bell, I think she's an exceptional talent. I stumbled there, and I wanted to make sure nobody heard me say acceptable.
She's exceptional. I would argue that Jade Cargill did far more with the time she was given when given time than Thunder Rosa was. And that was a new title that had to be put over. The women's title, it's already built in. Dr. Britt Baker made it the thing of all things. And let's not forget, Hikaru Shida is actually the longest reigning women's AEW champion. So there's still something for Britt to go after. There's a story there should Britt get the championship back. What is the story for Thunder Rosa? You know what I mean? And also, while we're on this, stop with the interim titles. Stop it. It devalues the championship. It's confusing. And also, if someone is so injured that they cannot defend the title, then they should have to give it up. Do you guys agree?
I 100% agree. Big fan of CM Punk.
That's not helping Thunder Rosa, the interim championship thing.
Big fan of CM Punk. Big fan of Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is already GCW champion. He's already a former IWGP US champion. Mm-hmm. You're already working with a lot of other promotions. You already have a dozen other championships. In fact, you debuted a championship at Forbidden Door and gave it to Pac. He's Pac there. When you could have just as easily elevated the TNT title to main event status and then put it on Jon Moxley. You could have elevated the mid... It's not the Mid-Atlantic, the one Pac has. Similarly, Jon Moxley could have been that champion. You could have worked out a deal with GCW, which would have been less than. But what I'm explaining is you could have an interim champion without calling them interim champion, because interim champion is dumb. What's smart
I see
is
what you're saying.
To bring it back to Tommaso Ciampa wearing Harley Race's robe, I've seen them fail at this before, but in the time of the part-time champion, I've seen WWE try to elevate the US title, the mid-card title, to the guy who goes on last, the guy who, usually the babyface who, sends everybody home happy, and then is in the main event story. That if you could have your mid-card title be in the main event story for 6 months while somebody heals, you don't actually need an interim champion. Mm-hmm. And I think what was missing is they knew they needed Forbidden Door to be a confluence of champions. Mm-hmm. So they needed, even if it was an interim. That said, I would have rather, and they also didn't know how long CM Punk would be actually injured. Mm-hmm. So I think that those were the two issues that led to them creating an interim championship. That said, personally, I think if you're injured, you have to relinquish it. Because especially imagine CM Punk coming back to Jon Moxley now and saying, I'm here to take the title from you that I never lost. Mm-hmm. That story is just as good as I've got a belt and you've got a belt. I'd say the first story is cleaner. Mm-hmm. They took the title from me. I didn't lose it. Or even better yet, if you wanted to go the John Cena CM Punk route, and you still want to have two belts, you have Tony Khan or some type of authority figure say, hey, it is with great sorrow that I am stripping you of the world title. And then you have CM Punk from his cell phone holding the title saying, good luck. Mm-hmm. Good luck. And then if you still want to have a two-belt show, you can have a two-belt show without an interim champion. And then you have to have Jon Moxley tour. You have to have the summer of Jon Moxley touring everywhere as interim champion. You constantly have to throw that interim in. And then he does a great job of making that his fire, that it's I'm the world champion in waiting kind of a thing. But it's just frustrating. I hate interim championships.
Well, yeah, and Jon Moxley did make us forget that there was a CM Punk, right?
Yeah,
theoretically speaking, but okay, so Punk comes back, right, and they have the face-off, right, and what happens? Moxley throws the belt down, right? Mm-hmm. So what the hell were you defending in the first place?
Exactly.
Totally devalued it, and
it
this
happens
is devaluing
in MMA too. It happens in MMA as well, right?
Yeah.
Where a guy or a girl, they win the interim championship, and then they're like, "This means shit." Well,
exactly.
Sold 50,000 pay-per-view buys with this interim title.
But hear me out. What works about that story is the time I can most clearly remember was Brock Lesnar was world champion and then got injured, and then was it Frank Mir who became interim heavyweight champion?
Yes. Oh, Shane Carwin.
Yes, Shane Carwin.
Yeah.
So Shane Carwin became interim heavyweight champion, and Brock Lesnar was sitting in the front row. And he said, this is a toy belt. The one Brock has, that's the one. I think that's the best of both worlds, because what you then have is the authority saying, actually, you're not the real world champion. And then the character even saying, actually, I'm not the real world champion. But then you still have a belt for some stupid reason. I much prefer... I don't know. We're talking in circles. I think I had it right the first time. Interim championships are stupid, but at a minimum, if you have... narratively, you have authority saying, oh, well, this is an interim champion. Because, well, what I would have loved and would actually fit Jon Moxley's character nicely is if he wins the AEW Interim Championship and then he grabs the microphone and he throws it down and says, I'm not champion until I beat CM Punk. It's going to stay here. Y'all can call me what you call me. I don't have control over that. But I'm not going to walk around with it. I'm not going to walk around with a belt I didn't earn. I'm not world champion. I'm the winner of a tournament that allows you to put me at the top of the card, and that's up to you. Put me where you put me, and then I'll win.
Well, Jon Moxley might be the only guy who can pull that off.
The only thing about that, right? And this is whatever your methodology you subscribe to in booking a world champion, right? Because some would argue, hey, Hogan during his heyday was never on TV every week, right? We're of the part-time Brock Lesnar not being. We've accepted it, right? So at points, like, we accept having a, like, once a month, maybe once every quarter world champion appear on the TV, but then when they legitimately get injured, everybody's like, we want our champion. Well, the champion wasn't there in the fucking first place. Like,
true.
So like,
I have a thesis that before I pull up before I check the tape.
Okay.
I have a thesis that the night CM Punk became champion was the same night Wardlow became TNT champion, or do I have that wrong? Did Wardlow become TNT champion at Forbidden Door?
Wardlow became TNT champion after.
So it was Forbidden. Okay,
so that was
So okay, there's a month difference. How many times do you think Wardlow's been on TV since Forbidden Door as TNT champion?
As
Before
many
I pull
big guys that are in AEW, about 4 or 5.
They've been throwing him on Rampage instead of Dynamite more than I would like, but.
So, as y'all go, I'll pull it up.
I don't know where you're going with this, Steve, but I think I'm going to like it because, to be honest with you, when Wardlow won the TNT championship, I was mad. I was like, all that, we put him over so hard and he's ready, and why isn't he in the world title picture? And now I get it that it, of course, is the end game and he needs to do this first, and that will be, down the line someday.
So on July 6th, which is Dynamite 145, which, just to clarify, after blowing off one of the biggest angles in AEW history on May 29th, Wardlow defeats MJF. On May 29th, he then beats JD Drake on Dynamite 140, and then I'm not going to count how many jobbers on Dynamite 142, where it was all the security guards. And then he beats Scorpio Sky. He has had three defenses since July 6th. Today is September 1st.
Wow.
He has had 3 defenses and then 4 appearances, including last night's 6-man tag. So by that logic, you could have gotten away with CM Punk not being on TV for the exact same amount of time and just elevated Jon Moxley to the main event story. I don't know. I'm beating this to death, but I don't think you needed an interim champion.
I don't think. Again, it's all on how the booker views the world championship, because, look at the territory system, right? Like, the world champion would only come in every so often, but you had a regional champ, and whoever your regional champion was, your state champion or your Mid-Atlantic champion, that's who was theoretically the number one contender, right? That's what we knew the old Intercontinental title to be, as like the final boss before you hit the world championship level, and we had to run with the champion. So again, it's all about the methodology of it. But like, most people get like, there's an interim champion, but like, why is he on TV all the time? But guess what? They're not on all the time. It should be special, I don't know. I'm conflicted. But I Thunder Rosa, I don't know what.
Well, yeah. So what all this is culminating in this weekend for the women is that Thunder Rosa is out injured, and it's Hikaru Shida, Dr. Britt Baker, Toni Storm, and
It is
someone else who's not going
Jamie
to
Hayter.
win. And Jamie Hayter, who all have an opportunity at the championship. I think this is a no-brainer. Britt is going to take it. It's not time for Toni yet. I think Toni will get her opportunity, and that will probably come out of this. Now, a feud with Toni and Britt definitely, I think, is money. There's no other choice. There's no other way to go with this besides taking a step back so that we can continue to move forward with the women's division.
Really?
I have two thoughts on this match, and I want to get to them quick so we can hit this rumor roundup. One, don't you think the better storytelling is either for Jamie Hayter to win and then built in Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, how dare you, is your next program, or for Jamie Hayter to similarly try to turn on Britt Baker and it costs them both? So now you create a champion Toni Storm.
Yeah, but all that would be so much more interesting if Britt had the championship. You could do all that with her and Jamie when she's the champion, and then people are actually going to watch and care.
But in my head, Toni Storm as champion is one good thing that can come out of a match, and then Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker, title or no, is a second good thing that can come out of the match.
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
So that in my head, if you have now, once again, they don't have the segments to devote to both, so they shouldn't be thinking this way. But if they did, or if they could find it, what I would love is an implosion of Britt Baker's stable, centered around Jamie Hayter, who is incredible, and not everyone knows it, and then Britt Baker, who's incredible, and everybody knows it. Those two just having matches because they have an issue. And then Toni Storm takes on all comers. Like I think you could have two different stories come out of one match. That's economical. They don't always love to be economical. I'm looking at the card.
They're
How
just
many
not
matches?
always thinking that far ahead, right?
Yeah.
14 matches.
Which, for me, I think Jamie Hayter is the perfect choice to kind of come out of this, right? Because if not for this kind of four-way deal, she'd kind of be longer in terms of waiting her time in line to get a shot at the title, right? But to me, it makes sense. You've got a possibly returning Thunder Rosa to get the title that she never theoretically lost, right? And apparently, if you read the tea leaves, hey, Jamie and Rosa kind of have beef. But even if you get away from that, I mean, Rosa did break Jamie Hayter's nose. So that right there, even if you didn't do too much, if you don't need the observer or anything like that, that's enough. You broke my nose. I have the title. Let's go, right? Or Britt Baker. So to me, either way you go, Jamie Hayter makes sense to me.
So okay. Like, so also long-term storytelling.
I like this.
There is reason to believe Thunder Rosa is not injured. Since we're talking about backstage heat and drama, I'd like to recklessly speculate a little on if she isn't injured, what the story may be.
Wait. If she isn't injured, are you implying that she's pretending to be injured to just go home for a while and lick her wounds, or that it's part of a storyline?
I am implying wouldn't be as strong. I am pointing out, as many have, that there is the possibility that she isn't injured and that the injury is merely storyline.
Okay, well, that would make sense because AEW has a terrible habit of finishes, gimmicks, just all kinds of things. So the fact, we had an interim championship, another interim championship. So yeah, I would buy that.
Okay, but like we're talking about backstage heat and all the people who may have something to say about her. There's a possibility that that's their way out. That they don't even want her to work with people.
I mean,
I need to clarify, as someone who's interviewed her, someone who knows her.
Yeah.
I don't have inside information.
Right, exactly. Same.
I'm reading the same Observer headlines you're reading, but I'd be a fool to not point out that those Observer headlines straight up say there's a very real possibility that people just don't want to work with her, and this is their way out.
Yeah, and I've heard from people long before her matches with Britt Baker, even long before maybe her inclusion in AEW, right? They're like, how did she get signed? And I was like, maybe this person has sour grapes, but then another person and another person, and I was just like, okay. And again, all my interactions with Thunder Rosa have been amazing. Like she's tremendous, right? But I've also never worked out with her. I will bring up a clip that was just released in the last 24 hours. Her and Chris Van Vliet, and it was like, "Hey, you suck it up. Like whatever you do, you suck it up. Be a woman. Right. Address things at head on, right? But like this is somebody who is like, I'm a badass MMA chick.
Yeah.
0-1.
You
0-1.
can be a badass MMA chick and be an 0-1.
Yes, but they're never mind. I'm gonna. Yeah.
You know, as you're talking about that, though, Adam, something comes to mind. You know, Thunder Rosa she's never worked in the politically correct environment of WWE. She's been on the indie scene and she's been in this game for a long time. And I can only assume that her experiences have been a little more old school than, say, like what the women go through at WWE the last few years, right? Just as far as respect, as far as how many opportunities there are for women out on the indies or when you're not in AEW or WWE. Thunder Rosa may be operating just from the world that she knows, from the way of running her personal business of being a pro wrestler that she knows. You know, things were a lot rougher a few years ago, and there wasn't as much camaraderie a few years ago. And as we talk this out, I'm kind of starting to feel bad for Thunder Rosa. And yeah, I don't know. Now I kind of feel bad for her. Maybe she's just trying to do what she sees other people doing and getting away with. Maybe.
Yeah.
Everything beyond now is, I'd say, too reckless a speculation on my part. But I'd be a fool to not bring up that that's the reporting around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. No, okay. Well, so she comes out and starts pretending to beat everybody down to get her title back or whatever it is, and then everybody just beats her down. We never see her ever again. You will have predicted it, Steve Kaufmann.
Perhaps.
Again, I think there's money in Hater as champion and Thunder coming, because that's going to be the litmus test about, is Thunder Rosa really a draw, right? Because she's been in a spot.
I think they've already answered that. Do you think they're still asking themselves that though?
I don't know.
I don't think they ever put her in a position to really test. Yeah, they never put her in a position to really test. Like, because I think they think, or maybe she thinks, that she's too big a deal to main event Dark Elevation. However, YouTube's analytics are so good that I guarantee you, if you made her main event, if she main evented a Dark Elevation, that I think roughly 150,000 people watch on a weekly basis, you would have good numbers on how many of those 150,000 people stay to the main event with her, and that would give you a really hardcore indicator with a small sample of how interested are people in Thunder Rosa. That if you had Thunder Rosa versus Bunny, Thunder Rosa versus a competitive match, not just a squash as a main event, they've never put her in that kind of a position to see. Maybe
but they can tell if you fast forwarded through a certain period, right? She's had several matches on Dark and Dark Elevation, where someone could definitely look at the numbers and go, oh, we lost people here. Oh, they fast forwarded, they jumped on to the next chapter or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Once again, I don't have access to those analytics. So
Which kills you, Steve.
Oh God, I would love.
You'd love to see that shit, wouldn't you?
Could you imagine if I had, I guarantee you, hypothetically, if I had access to those analytics, I would never let it up on air, obviously. So what I would say is, I have a feeling last time she was on AEW Dark, her retention was really high. The retention for the whole video was really high leading into her. And that is a good indicator that people are sticking around for her, would be what I'd say. I don't have access to it. That said, YouTube actually gives you a little visualization bar now that's pretty close to what that analytic is. And that's just on the user level. That it's a little most replayed bar so that you can see. I'm sure if you pull up any
user can see, or that just the person whose channel it is.
No, any user can see a most replayed bar. They don't get percents. Creators get percents of this percent usually you drop to 70% in the first 90 seconds.
Right.
And then you're down to your final 20% in the final hour. Mm-hmm. So that like it's depressing for everyone who labors on content, that they're like, oh, nobody actually cares.
Yeah, that's well. Going back like to this four-way, I actually think there's money, right? If you book Jamie Hayter, almost a la Randy Orton in what 04 when he kind of wins the title and he's still within Evolution and what have you. Like I think there's money in taking some elements of that, right? And again, Jamie Hayter coming out of All Out as champion, you could put her against Britt and get some good matches. You can, Thunder Rosa when she's ready to come back. I think there's built-in storylines more so than the three other combatants. Like Britt Baker, we've seen, like, if she comes out of All Out with the championship, she's going to be, I guess, AEW's version of Charlotte Flair, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But there are people like, oh my gosh, like Charlotte Flair is almost rivaling her dad's world title reign, and she's put in like what 1/4 the time, but that's also time bias, right? Because we're not booking in the 80s and 70s and 90s when her dad was on top. Right?
Also, brief aside to the Charlotte Flair business.
Yeah.
In spite of me working with that family, I don't know this for certain. I just know the vibes. I guarantee you the second she becomes a 16-time world champion, you're going to hear Rick talking about how he's actually 21. and that's no shade to Charlotte, but because he's like his name's not mud over in the WWE, when she becomes 16 and 17-time world champion, the WWE is going to spend a bunch of time on air talking specifically about she's tying her father, she's going to beat her father. And I guarantee you her father's probably going to have a microphone that I'm running. And he's going to mention, love her career. I'm happy she gets to beat my record. My record's actually 21. No, like,
right. Yeah. It's like Victor Jovica. You
got to give the kids something to strive for.
Yeah, it's like Victor Jovica in Puerto Rico. We start counting that with the couple times that they dropped the world title to Giant Baba on a tour. And before the NWA figured it out, they would have switched it back. Like, those are all going to come into play.
Oh, 100%. We have historians. We have researchers on staff.
That is someone's job, people. Someone's job.
More than one.
I guess, I mean, we'll kind of put a bow on this, but like the AEW backstage turmoil, right? So we've got Thunder Rosa and whatever's going on with the Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston stuff, CM Punk, Moxley. And it just seems like, and there's been new appointments in terms of like the front office of AEW for what it is, right? So, I mean, what do you guys make of this? And it's the wrestling landscape has changed in the last 6 months in a way that I have never anticipated, right? Because I used to look at things at like GCW, and even New Japan kind of coming over as almost an heir apparent to what ECW was, in the 90s to the WCW, WWE war at the time, right? And it doesn't seem that way anymore. I think a lot of people, again, as you guys had mentioned, are not souring as much with the WWE product now that Vince is gone, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe they're not looking at GCW. Maybe they're not looking at New Japan or even AEW and Impact. So there's a lot of shaking up. Do what you will with it. Christy, what do you think?
Well, you pointed out there that they've put some new people in new positions backstage to help some of this. So at least they're trying, right? They're not just going to let everything continue to get worse. Sometimes it feels like Tony Khan is the only exec, right? The only person running everything, the only one who can answer everyone's questions and speak for the company. So this is good that talent knows there are more people that they can go to. I think that will certainly help things. Also, all the bad press, nobody wants that. Everyone knows that that is not good for business. Eddie Kingston knows it. Sammy knows it. Rosa knows it. Tony knows it. The network knows it. This kind of chatter before a pay-per-view is not what you want. You want people talking about how hot the card is, right? Not how hot the wrestlers are getting backstage. So I think they've acknowledged that this is something they really have to get a handle on. However, I wish them luck. I think they got a lot of renegades on the roster, and just the precedent that they've set. You know, at WWE, I talk about the fear a lot, right? Actually, it's been a while since I've talked about it because I don't feel it that much anymore. But, there are really high expectations over there. We just know that about how you behave behind the scenes and what you say to the media. And we just know that things are different at AEW. And those things definitely need to change. They need to change the narrative that there's a mess behind the scenes.
So to get in front of it, I guess what you're suggesting is Tony Khan begins to control his narrative.
Good one, Adam. I knew there was something good coming there. I was waiting for it.
I mean, with the whole talk of Braun Strowman appearing on Raw,
Yes,
right? I mean,
yes.
I guess the controlling narrative goes back to the Evil Empire.
Oh, and won't that be so interesting to see what Braun has worked into his contract with all the leverage I'm sure he has? No? Oh, okay.
No, not at
If
all.
he pops up, okay, what if he pops up at All Out, you guys?
Okay.
All this chitter chatter about him going back, that could happen.
What did Steve Kaufmann do to himself?
No.
You lost me.
Wow.
He's
Okay.
no, thank
No,
you.
I mean, Strowman, right? Adam Scherr, or what have you. When you look at CYN, it's kind of crazy, right? You've got Austin Aries. He has a good reputation, doesn't he? Right?
A good reputation, a really reliable reputation for being difficult to work with?
EC3.
Did you say reputation or representation?
Representation or reputation. Either way, one of them begins with an R. Not a renegade, but yeah, that guy's dead. But anywho, but you're looking at like the cornerstones of CYN, Strowman, right? EC3, Austin Aries, right? Those three guys are the cornerstones, all world champions of promotions that they've had runs with, right? Mm-hmm. But also, nobody's clamoring to have them back. I mean, I guess Strowman would be an exception to the rule. Killer Cross, right? That's an exception to the rule because he's already re-debuted in the WWE. But like, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time.
Well, I think that's something that these guys have to think about too. You know, your Sammy Guevara's, your Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston says a lot of stuff about how he could have been at WWE, how they wanted him, how he had to pay for the house, and he blames his ex-girlfriend and a whole thing. He's got a lot to say about that. So much so that you know it is still his lifelong dream to go be at WWE. This kind of stuff being out there about the way that he's behaving backstage, getting in a physical altercation, that's not going to help you, bro. That's what I'm saying. They have got to get a handle on the bad press part of this.
Yeah. Oh, McMack says, Steve, you look better blurred. This is also, like earlier in the show, he was theoretically hitting on you, right? Like, that's what
Is that better? See, we're all good now?
I think that was someone else. Everybody wants a piece of the Kaufmann.
Everybody.
Right around there. I think we're good. Is my
image filter.
Is my image okay?
You look like a Khloe Kardashian Instagram picture.
Wow!
Now it's art.
Wow!
We're getting artsy.
You look like the beginning of a '90s promo.
Oh,
like your camera's gonna start to shoot.
New World Order.
I'm taking over.
Oh shit, Steve! But speaking of takeovers, what do you make of all of the AEW stuff?
So I'm trying to.
You know it's even worse than what's out there, Steve.
Some of it's worse than what you know, and a lot of it is just way dumb. I can't reveal which is which, but I want to point out the Adam Page CM Punk business is probably the most interesting to me because I don't think that's been resolved, and I'm really curious what the story is. Which, when you cut a promo and then somebody walks away going, I wonder what that story was, and then 3 weeks later they don't have the story and you never mentioned it on your TV again, I would argue that's bad booking.
Agreed.
Because that's what's happening. AEW, I think, is suffering now from what the WWE suffered from 2 months ago, which is some of your best stories are happening in somebody else's paper instead of on your TV show. Like, I think I told you guys around this Vince McMahon business where I was like, I don't know if it bodes well for your company when your best story is actually happening on the Wall Street Journal with a character who doesn't wrestle. Mm-hmm. And I think similarly, like, what the F is going on with CM Punk is probably one of the best stories on AEW right now, and they don't actually cover it on the TV show. And somebody's going to scream yet, and I don't actually believe you.
Yeah, which, I mean, to me, obviously we had the unification title match last week, was it? I mean,
Yes.
Right?
Between Moxley and CM Punk.
And it was basically a John Moxley squash, right? I think I was going like, what the hell was this, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get into, his promo last night, Ace Steel kind of steering him back to what is important and whatever. They're already in Chicago. To me, it was fantastic storytelling. Now, mind you, could they have done it maybe weeks ago or whatever? Now, that's also dealing with the timeline of Punk's return and recovery and what have you. But theoretically speaking, assuming you watched, Dynamite, right? Ooh, we're getting a tour of the Kaufmann Manor, are we? But basically, if we had just the promo, the Moxley promo and the Punk promo with Ace Steel, slapping the shit out of Punk, right, as the coach, right? What is CM Punk's handle on the socials, right? Player coach, right? It was a great element, I think, and for everything that AEW gets flack for about catering to the indie fans or whatever, I think this was the perfect kind of angle and blow off to lead into the pay-per-view. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
No?
I'm trying to be too fancy. I'll stop. I figured out a way.
Come down to our level, Steve, please.
I figured out a way to make my iPhone act as a webcam, and for those who are wondering, an hour and 22 minutes is about as long as that can happen. At least
battery or
no, I think some form of overheating and just kind of disconnecting. What makes it worse is that only works on like beta. So I'm beta testing the feature. So like if it doesn't work, I don't get to even complain that it didn't work. Well, you're beta testing it. It's not always supposed to work.
We're just a beta test, Adam.
Right?
Beta. I'm just saying. Aww. We miss you too, George.
Get George the link for.
Seems like you're working real hard there, G Herm.
We'll call it the shiitake. The shiitake after this.
Shiitake. Oh, nice.
I like that.
Like it. Yeah. So I mean, this is a big wrestling weekend, right? Anything that you guys want to see in All Out? Maybe a MJF return. Do you think this is kind of, it's simmering, the water's boiling for MJF return, or is that not happening?
No, at this point, that MJF thing needs to be 6, 8, 12 months out.
Really?
If you're not going to turn around and do it pay-per-view or 2 pay-per-views later, you might as well. I guess we are 2 pay-per-views later. If you're not going to turn around and do that like 1 month or 2 months later, you might as well really let it simmer and slow burn. Because I would argue you've already fizzled to a point that it's not going to be that big a deal if you do it this Sunday, that I would much prefer you wait a really long time and it's a really big surprise.
Yeah, and MJF is smart. He knows that. And I don't think he's ever going back. Unless Tony offers him a whole lot of money to come show up at a pay-per-view like that, which out of principle, I don't think he's going to do. I don't think we're going to see MJF in an AEW ring ever again.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, and that's unfortunate, right? There is all this heat. There is all this potential for some awesome story. And of course, MJF knows that as well, but there's just as much potential for him to go to the other place and get paid, he thinks, and, be the top guy there, which is what he thinks will happen.
I'm not going to confirm it, but it is the feeling among many that he has overplayed his hand with over there.
Yeah. Oh.
It is a theory among many is what I'll say, that he doesn't have he doesn't like have as much clout there as he pertains to. That said, I'd happily eat my hat if he shows up on Raw, because I think they'd use him right. They'd use it.
I think they would use him right, but I think that he thinks it's going to be different for him there, and he's dead ass wrong. It's not different for anybody. Not for any. It's not going to be different for MJF. Hasn't been different for any of the other guys coming in. It's not going to be different for him.
Well, because at a certain point, there are people in AEW now that are very unhappy. That internally the thought is, if you can't be happy here, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
That's dark.
Yeah.
I mean, not AEW
Touché.
dark, but still dark. And again, going into
No, but
my
like
kind of
at a certain point, happiness. Ask me, am I happy doing what I'm doing? Like that's that's philosophical. Am I happy? Are you satisfied? Is a different question. Like you
Well,
can
that's
be
like if
satisfied and
everyone
unhappy.
says you're the problem, yeah. If you're not happy anywhere, CM Punk, then you're maybe just an unhappy person.
oof. Yeah, that has never been.
And I hate
uttered
that
in
for him.
any-
He has so much. Be
any
happy.
group of shoot
Love your life.
interviews
Be
over the
grateful.
last 10 years. That has never been uttered. CM Punk, really unhappy? What? What say you? What? I don't know. I bet the guy
Homeboy
wants
needs to open his eyes and in the morning and look around, look at his beautiful wife, look at his cute dog that he has a great relationship. I'm sure he has
Yeah.
a big ass house and all the opportunity and the love and peace and joy that what he does has afforded him and awarded him, and be grateful.
That's a nice plug for Eric Bischoff's book, right?
Mhm.
All right, which you can find in a litany of places. I think.
I
it's
know he said no advance copies, but I think he should send one to Punk.
I think so. I feel like it.
I think you're right.
So again, anything specific that you guys are, I guess, waiting for in terms of All Out? Like, what's the best case scenario? Any particular matches or looking at the card? We've got obviously the aforementioned 4-way match. We've got Danielson, Jericho, Moxley, Punk, Swerve and Mike Glory, the tag team champs against the Acclaimed. I think that could be a runaway kind of a show stealer. You got a multi-person match for the championship title shot with Claudio, Rey Fenix, Roosh, Dante Martin, Andre El Idolo, Penta, Wheeler Yuta, and a mystery entrant, which, I mean, the Twitter sphere is basically saying that it's a foregone conclusion. It's MJF. I don't necessarily think so, but yeah, well.
Real talk.
Please, you think after the big stink he made, he's going to come back for a casino ladder match with a
Can we
bunch of
stop
other
calling
guys?
these things
Real
stupid
talk.
names?
No,
Name
that's
me-
part of the fun.
Name me the last time the winner of the casino ladder match amounted to anything in AEW.
I don't know.
Like,
Not at all.
so I'll click through. 2021, did they have one? I don't think they had one. They didn't have one, but Double or Nothing.
Yeah, there was one at Double or Nothing.
So that was the Stadium Stampede that year.
Well, in the past, it's been for something as well, for an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, for the TNT Championship, for an opportunity at a championship, for
Didn't they
for
actually do
something.
a brass ring fucking
Yep.
ladder match?
Was
So-
that the thing that MJF won and had?
I think
See?
MJF.
Well, no, that
won,
wasn't
and
a ladder
Ricky
match.
Starks
That was
also
like a tournament. There was a
Tournament, right.
tournament every November that he keeps winning that ring.
Oh, the ring. Yeah.
So the casino ladder match. I'm sure it has appeared since 2020, but in 2020, who won the casino ladder match?
No
Christy,
idea.
I think wrestling trivia.
Brian
Yeah.
Cage. Brian Cage. He won a
wow.
future world championship match. He went against Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, and Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus would have been a good win there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been casino ladder matches and battle royals since, but I'm clicking through now. So yeah, actually, so if we're going Double or Nothing 2021, a year later, they had a casino battle royal. Who won that? Jungle Boy.
Wow. Yeah.
What have they done with they
What
have
does it actually mean?
exactly
Yeah.
they that's an excellent place for someone like Jungle Boy to step out of where we see them on the card and get elevated to the top of the card. That was May of 2021. Did they do that?
No.
It remains to be seen. I'll be polite when I say that I don't think so far it's just Jungle Boy Christian. Like, I don't think they've presented Jungle Boy in a way that's like, oh man, he's a main eventer. That, like, I think more often than not, they use these opportunities to elevate people, and then they elevate them to a ceiling they don't get to break.
Well, I think the other problem is that they're looking at, yes, every pay-per-view has to have a battle royal some sort because they have such a huge roster and so little TV time. They have to have a way to get all these names out there. You can see so-and-so on the AEW card, right? That's a no-brainer. There are 100 million, billion, trillion different kinds of ladder matches, of battle royals, of everything else that you can have. Why do we have to keep having the same kind of match? I don't understand it. When I see that on the card, I don't get it. And I haven't seen on TV enough storytelling to make me excited about it. That being said, that is one match on the card, and it's one that is unpredictable. I look at the card, and there are a lot of matches that we know exactly how they're going to go. So I will be watching with high hopes to be surprised.
No, 100%. And I think there's a lot of speculation on who this mystery person is. I think it's going to be George Hermosa. George Hermosa is going to win it.
Yay!
He's en route to Chicago right now as we speak. George Hermosa, how are you?
There he is. He's upside down now. There he goes.
He's doing his spin move, guys.
Yes. I think he's in Hoffman Estate, Illinois, right? Heading towards the venue. That's what I want to
No, I think that's a green screen. He's in the locker room. He's just trying to throw us
He's in the
off.
locker room. Right on. Oh, yes. Shout out to George.
What are you guys talking about?
The AEW All Out. Like, what is the best case scenario? What are you looking forward to in the pay-per-view? Because you're theoretically going to shell out $50 for this thing.
I hope the absolute best tag team in the business come out on top, and that is the Acclaimed. Max Caster is a freaking star.
Agreed.
I don't know why they are just not doing more. Maybe they are. I don't want to say I don't know why they're not doing more of them because maybe being the tag team champions is great. But I honestly think if they're not on TV every single week, and I don't mean dark or dark elevation or dark anticipation or dark whatever it is, I'm talking like Dynamite feature spot. I don't know why he's not on TV every single week because that guy is a freaking stud.
I agree.
All right, so that's one championship that could change hands. That would be a surprise.
Yeah.
No, I think they have 18 more championships now, right?
72, George.
Isn't there like a
72.
Pac versus Kip Sabian, right? Isn't that a match on All Out?
Yeah, Kip Sabian coming back.
That's on the pre-show.
Because nothing says pro wrestling more than, hey, let's bring back a guy that hasn't been around for about a year and a half and give him a title shot over everybody else that has been busting their ass at AEW.
You're
not wrong. Not wrong, George. I'm just saying. That's
never wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. All Atlantic. And then wasn't he wearing a bag on his head? And then they just dropped that storyline, didn't they?
When is Eric coming on?
Eric Bischoff?
We thought
you were with him, bro.
Yeah.
4 hours. You just gotta keep waiting.
He's in the back. Hey, shut up back there, Eric.
Don't tempt George with a 4-hour podcast because he'll do it.
He's on a car on the freeway.
Yeah, somewhere in Illinois, suburban Illinois. 100%.
What else are you guys talking about? I got hot takes for everything. The CM Punk thing, it's a work. It's a horrible work, but it's all a work.
Wow. Okay.
No, really?
I want to believe, George.
MJF, there's no chance that MJF is going to be the mystery guy on the Casino Battle Royal. I don't know who thinks that, but it's not going to happen. He's not going to do his thing only to come back as a freaking mystery opponent of a Battle Royal that doesn't or a ladder match that does not even matter.
We were just saying, G Herm.
Yeah.
We were just saying.
Yes, and I'm agreeing with every one of you guys.
What about Thunder Rosa? As a worker, how do you feel about the rumors that she is difficult to work with?
How many people are watching this right now, or how many people will watch right now?
Everybody and nobody at all, George. No,
Just our
I don't
friends.
get it. I don't get it with her. I don't know. It just overall, it's like I don't understand the hype. I think she's been the wrong person to be the champion from day one. Not saying that Britt Baker should have been having it this whole time. I never see it. And again, and I think I've mentioned this to him before. I feel about Thunder Rosa how Adam feels about Roman Reigns. I don't get it. I don't see it. I think her in-ring skills are not good. I think, okay, maybe you guys can help me out with this. Like, I don't think she's as good as she thinks she is, but at the same time, like, don't you want to think highly of yourself? Like, don't you want to have that confidence, in the ring?
Right?
Confidence in yourself, but I think you're going too far when you're saying you're better than everyone else, or you deserve an opportunity, you deserve to work safely in a ring more than someone else does. Come on.
Like, I don't want to get too, like, cancel culture here, because, we're not about that, but also it just feels like she plays certain cards, not just the female card, but I play like she plays at, I don't know, I could be very wrong. I'll be the first to say I'll be happy to be wrong. But like, I don't know, it just feels like almost like every interview that I see, like non-AEW, it's always about like, it's because I'm Latina, it's because I'm this, it's because I'm that. It's like, I don't know, it's almost as if like you can only play that card so far before like backing that up with like your talent. And I don't know, I hope, I know it's a little like a bit of a hot take, and I try not to be as negative as whatnot or try to be very positive. I just don't see it. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Is anybody else a big fan of hers?
Not a big fan. I'm a fan of
what
hers.
you're saying. I'm fan of the person, right?
I don't think not to rehash, but I don't think they've presented her in a way that we could possibly say that she's awful.
But at the same time, it's like, yes, there is an argument to be made as far as like you're giving CM Punk 10 minutes to like, give up or whatever it is, announce your injury, but you give Thunder Rosa like 30 seconds. I don't know. I don't know. It's like that's unfair, but also like Steve said, like I don't think they presented her that well. But like I'm saying, I don't think she's that good to begin with. So it's like
she hasn't taken advantage of the opportunity she's been given. Right. She hasn't made an impact with the little bit of time or opportunities that she has had.
Yeah, it's funny because it kind of reminds me differently, but of Big Swole, right? Big Swole had this. I mean, her last year of her appearances have been her talking about her short run in AEW. And she's nor big, she's nor swole, right? Just average looking gal, right? I mean, I'm not saying looking, but you would think like Big Swole. You would think a Jade Cargill, right? You would think some larger than life personality, right? But she's made a career out of bitching and complaining for her cup of tea in the big time. Who else is knocking at her door in 2022 after she couldn't make AEW work?
No one, because Tony said some shit about her on the internet that he would never have said about one of the boys. That he never would have said about a pretty blonde white girl. This is the example I'm going to say. She's probably justified.
Yeah, agreed. But I also think like how Tony's dealing with Big Swole is almost similarly to Brian Cage, but also Brian Cage is still collecting a paycheck. So to your point, Christy, I see what you're saying. 100%. It's totally valid.
I think what we're seeing a lot now these days is like, don't get me wrong, and we all do it, when especially when AEW announces, oh, the WWE, they script their promos. Oh, Vince McMahon, microman, like everybody bitches about everything. We've all done it, everybody here has done it, where it's like, oh man, I wish I didn't do this. But I think there's a good balance of what should be done and what shouldn't be done in pro wrestling. But now we're kind of seeing the repercussion of like, well, this is what happens when you give your wrestlers too much free reign and too much like non-scripted airtime and too much like you let them control their own destiny and they make their own rules. Well, guess what? Now we're kind of seeing why the WWE does it in a certain way, and look at all this turmoil that's been happening in the last couple weeks with not just the Punk stuff, but like I think it's complete BS that and again, I'm assuming the rumors are true. I think it's complete BS if Colt Cabana is like shunned out of the locker room just because of CM Punk. Like that just shows like no, if this was Vince or even maybe Triple H now, that would never be happening. Like you guys are both my employees. If I want you both there, you're going to both be there. If you don't want him in the locker room, then your ass can leave.
And Punk would have never even thought about trying to throw his clout around and say, I'm not going to work with so-and-so. You're exactly right, George. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hoping AEW does well, but I feel like we're seeing the results of the too many unscripted promos and the too much of the giving these guys the free reign that they want to have and not have, feel like they're handcuffed by the WWE system. Like, all right, well.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of that with the Kenny Omega return promo, and that was just. I think he compared people to cat litter at the end of it.
Some of us were watching the Fight TV feed. No, we're not going to tell you how. And we didn't get to see that promo at all.
Ooh.
Interesting.
If you were watching Dynamite last night on Fight TV internationally, Kenny Omega grabs the microphone and is about to talk, and then it says Fight TV lost signal from the building. So I have no idea what I thought.
Oh, is that what happened?
I thought that promo was going to be about Kevin Nash and the merch sales.
Ooh.
Because it was a really surreal moment, because I was producing Kevin Nash last night, and they were talking about the Will Ospreay tweet, and the whole segment, that, by the way, youtube.com/click this. It'll debut Monday, the whole segment. But I'm watching that here, and I'm, producing the whole show, and then on this screen over here, I have Dynamite on, and it's Will Ospreay in that 6-man match.
Wow. I mean,
so
that's
both were happening for me at the same time.
Serendipitous. I guess a lot of AEW, but I mean, obviously we've got Clash at the Castle as well as Worlds Collide. I think that's going to be a lot for me. Just me. I'm looking forward to when Worlds Collide and pretty much the unification matches, right? The NXT UK and the NXT title challenger, Tyler Bate versus Broughton Breaker, right? And Meiko Satomura against, man, I don't even know.
It's Meiko Satomura versus Mandy Rose, but also Bea Priestley.
Oh, okay.
I have to have that wrong. No,
I think that's right. It's a
it's Blair Davenport.
Thank you. Okay, I got the name wrong. So actually, do we think, given that that's the only of the unification matches, that's the only one with a third participant? Mm-hmm. Do we think this is an opportunity for some tomfoolery?
Shenanigans!
Because if Mandy Rose pins Blair Davenport, that's a way to protect Meiko Satomura and merge the titles.
Yeah.
Well, how are you protecting Meiko Satomura? She's like 48. I think she's good.
If she loses to Mandy... If she loses to Mandy Rose clean as a sheet, she's unprotected. I doubt they would do that.
Just because you lose cleanly doesn't mean you're unprotected. There's ways to lose a match, cleanly and still be protected.
Especially when there's 3 people in the match.
But regardless of who takes the pin, like, it can be a little bit more creative. Like, it doesn't matter who takes the pin. My point is, like, they can still be very protective of each individual person, regardless of who takes the pin. Mm-hmm. If anything, I think Mandy Rose loses because she's going to be right back on Raw and SmackDown in a few weeks.
Ooh, I would like that.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would agree that that's where she belongs, although
especially
she's doing a lot down there.
Well, Spencer, the rumor was they were all going to go up. Like, Toxic Attraction was like, I guess the rumor was they were ready for the main roster, but What's-Her-Face got a concussion, right?
Oh, I thought maybe they got knocked off by Bayley's faction.
No, somebody got a concussion. I forget if it was...
I think it was Gigi Dolan.
Yeah.
I know. I was about to say Priscilla Kelly just to stick with me naming people wrong, but I actually know her name is Gigi Dolan.
There you go. Good point.
But I literally had to Google it and be like, is Bea Priestley a different person? And they're like, no, they're the same person. She just goes by Blair Davenport now. But I was
want
worried.
to know, is she still going out with Will Ospreay? Christy, find the juice, find the tea.
2019.
I feel like
the couple. So according to Wikipedia, in 2019, the couple revealed they were planning on moving to Japan due to their wrestling schedules. In 2021, the couple split.
Right.
So according to Wikipedia, they're not dating.
No.
Yeah, he's single, allegedly.
Have you guys talked about the Tony Khan tweet?
Wait.
You gotta
where he was like, "Oh, I thought me and WWE were gonna work together, but they were really mean to me, so I don't think it's gonna happen anymore."
Wait,
are you serious?
what?
When
I'm
was
looking
this?
up right now.
He said something on the conference call that everybody's quoting, like, "Oh, I thought with the new regime we had a chance to work together, but it doesn't look like just by the way they treated me."
So first of all, the second thing that pops up when I type Tony Khan into Twitter is an account called Tony Khan on Coke, which is apparently very popular. Wow. But I'm looking for this one.
We're not at all implying that one Tony Khan is on illicit substances.
So somebody else on Twitter is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Tony Khan didn't tweet it. It's just what he said during the media call.
Okay, yeah, because he didn't tweet it.
Okay.
No, I'm seeing the quote around.
What is the exact quote, Steve?
I already clicked away, so give me a moment.
Okay. I'm finding it too.
But it was like something like,
there we
because
go.
I'm how
Okay.
they're treating me.
I was pretty optimistic when they first made the change, but I'm less I'm less optimistic now after the way they've treated me. Oh. Boo, motherfucking who? Does this guy not care two shits about the way he looks to the world? He looks like the pettiest, most just spoiled, butthurt, sensitive guy, and that's okay. Like, that would make a great boyfriend, not a great president of a wrestling company. Like, bro, whatever you have to do to get some confidence in yourself so that you don't have to be so concerned with the way that people treat you and what they say about you and getting the respect that you feel like you deserve from Triple H. Come on, bro. Somebody help this guy.
Yeah.
He needs help.
I mean, yeah,
I feel
it's
sad
not
for
great.
him.
It's not great. And as you're saying that, I'm just the hug with Claudio just kind of just lives rent free in here. Like, it's just Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know. And what's the point? Like, I want there to be some like healthy competition here, right? I mean, Tony Khan said,
We all did.
what after CM Punk won the title, right? He got into that. We beat in the Wednesday Night War and blah blah blah, whatever, right? So I mean, theoretically speaking, why would you want to work with the people that you beat? Like, like, I don't know, have some decency. And it's crazy, right? That Wednesday Night War, it was theoretically speaking, it was Triple H versus Tony Khan in their charges in NXT and AEW respectively, right? AEW Dynamite. Well, guess what? There's no. Let's talk about a glass ceiling. Tony Khan is at his glass ceiling. Triple H has the rule of the roost on the other side. With untold billions of dollars, Tony Khan is still here trying to get his show consistently 1 million viewers every week. So who won that war?
Come on.
Yeah. So
like, be proud of what you have accomplished, Tony. Don't be focused on working with WWE. Be focused on the fact that you have been successful in a world where only they have been for decades. Like, pat yourself on the back. Don't worry that they're giving you the respect and being nice to you. Like, it's sad. It's sad for Tony. Again, like CM Punk, he should open his eyes in the morning, look around at, I'm sure, his like big ass house and all that he has accomplished, and be grateful.
Do you think has anybody in the group? Do you guys remember Richie Rich, the little
boy in the movie?
right, of the '90s. That
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
He was
The
so
rapper,
rich he
right?
didn't have any friends. Right? Is this Tony Khan? Like, that's what I feel. And like, oh, I get to be friends with wrestlers, but I also get to give them the paychecks. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know too much of what Tony Khan did pre his dalliance in pro wrestling, right? I mean, obviously, he was a part of his dad's football club in either, across the pond or the Jacksonville Jaguars. But, I mean, was it kind of a powder puff position? He's the boss's son, so give him a role, you
Well,
know?
listen, he just told us himself that he can't get respect from Stephanie McMahon. And if anyone should look at a Tony Khan and go, I was raised the same way, a silver spoon in my mouth. I had all the opportunities. Of course, I was going to get this job. She's someone who could empathize with Tony Khan, right? The fact that he's clearly not getting that from her because they're not being nice to him, that tells you something.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're 100% right, and it's crazy because these are things that we're like, oh my gosh, Tony Khan, he's stepping in to beat Vince and everything, and when it's now not Vince, a lot of Tony Khan's inefficiencies are a lot more glaring than they were 6 months ago,
Yeah.
and maybe they were in certain circles, but I mean, it's even more so now, even in the eyes of the talent, where you know Tony Khan is kind of paranoid that he's going to have a lot of his talent poached because his WWE kind of signings have been all because that particular talent didn't fit the role of Vince or fall out of favor or whatever, right? And now Vince is not there, and the guy that spoke up for a Rusev or a Undisputed Era and whatever, all of their guys, they're still there. I mean, what must you be feeling if you're a William Regal and your kid Bailey
Yeah.
is over there, right? Don't you want to go back when all your friends are there? You worked well with Sean. You worked well with Trips, like Sarah Del Rey. All of the people that you've worked with for the last 5-10 years, and they're all there, and no Vince. It's a perfect scenario. So I understand if Tony has a little bit of paranoia about people wanting to leave his particular ship because maybe he's not the greener grass on the other side. Maybe it was what they left is greener all the while. Yeah. So really quick, anybody looking forward to Clash at the Castle?
1,000%.
Of course you are, George.
I
Does
cannot
Roman
wait.
retain?
Big Drew McIntyre fan, that George Hermosa.
Are you kidding me? We all know who I'm a big fan of.
Not, yeah. No, I'm good.
I do it mainly to troll at him.
Oni Lorcan?
Y'all are the twos.
Yeah,
And
Oni
we
Lorcan.
Oni
That's
Lorcan?
it. Oni Lorcan. He's gonna return. He's gonna do a Rick Rude where he's gonna appear on both shows. He's gonna be the mystery
honestly,
man in the
I do
battle
kinda
royal,
hope that Drew
and then
wins.
go
He
over
definitely
to.
deserves.
Nice.
I think everything that's happened. I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool for him to win the big one in this setting. Like, I think it's going to be one of the best shows that's ever been produced by the WWE.
Okay.
I want that. I worry. I worry they haven't put the time and effort into it. I also
What do
don't.
you have to worry about?
They're not going to dethrone Roman Reigns anywhere.
How much do you want to bet?
Ooh.
I'll let you make
How
the
much
wager.
do you want to bet that Drew McIntyre is going to come out with at least one of the titles?
How does that work? He's facing.
I have no idea. I'm just saying that Drew McIntyre leaves as a champion.
It's not a
So-
booking, it's just a prediction.
Okay.
So just to
Spoiler.
clarify the wager. So just to clarify the wager, he walks out of Clash at the Castle as world's champion.
Yes.
I will bet you $50 that will not happen.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Because hear me
Yeah,
out.
that's something more interesting. Like make him scrub your toilet with a toothbrush or something.
Or
I would
I
pay
don't know.
someone $50 to do that if I lost.
I was
What should
gonna
we call it?
wager a t-shirt.
Because I'm just gonna call out the game. If Drew McIntyre wins, Austin Theory is going to cash in, and Drew McIntyre will not leave Clash of the Castle. And if that's what they do, I would fucking love that, because I love heel shit. And that would be some heel shit. I said Austin Theory, right? I didn't say Austin something else.
Austin Aries? Yeah, Austin Aries.
I will go double or nothing and say that that's not going to happen.
I don't feel strongly enough about that. But I do think Drew McIntyre is not leaving as champion.
Drew McIntyre is going to close the show being in the corner posing with the championship.
Well, now I'm going to watch just because I want to see if G Herb is right. You did a better job of building that thing up than WWE did.
Well, but to be fair, there's still a SmackDown tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I just, out of the WWE offering for this weekend, I just want, and I know it's probably not going to happen, but I want, at Worlds Collide, Satomura and Tyler Bate to come away with the titles. I want Tyler Bate and Miko Satomura, respectively, just to say, you know what? Out of these two titles, we're just going to keep the NXT UK championships, because those are better looking titles. Actually, the best looking titles in all of WWE at the current time. So I like those belts. I like the lions, and as they attack the logo, it's just amazing. So that's all I want. Clash at the Castle, I could really give a shit about.
I 100% agree with what Adam Wood said. I think that UK title is the best one out of the whole company. But shame on you for not looking forward to Clash of the Castle. It's gonna be a great show, dude. Like those European crowds are always the best crowds, and it's at a stadium. Like, it's a spectacle in its own.
I'll catch the replay. I'll catch the replay, George. How about that?
You're not a fan.
And then I'll also have Twitter open as it's going down before I actually watch the show, so I already know what's going to happen.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. That might have frozen George. He's spontaneously.
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
Well, I mean, honestly, I can't force you to however you want to be a fan. If you want to do that, then that's all good. I ain't gonna judge.
I'm watching Worlds Collide, and I'm hopeful that Satomura and Bate come away with the title. So I'm just
I think Satomura will. I think she'll win.
Against Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose has been booked amazingly. She's doing the best work of her career with Toxic Attraction.
She understood the assignment about going back down to NXT.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
And look at just in that optics, right? I think you brought up an amazing point, Christy, in the sense that look at all of the people that have gotten sent down to developmental in one form or facet over the years. I mean, not even like FCW, NXT. We're talking like Big Show to OVW, Mark Henry to OVW. These are world champions, and she's leapfrogged all of them in being like, again, understanding the assignment, right? And the last time that we saw her was like, I think slipping at Mania, right?
Yeah.
The Reign of Mania, right? And then she's arguably, if you're watching NXT and she isn't one of your favorite female performers, let alone performers on that show, then what the fuck are we doing? Right? But Miko Satomura, holy shit. I mean, to me, in my MMA brain, nothing beats her in that flippy scorpion knee that she does. It's amazing. And if she is 48, like you say, George Rosa, again, tremendous.
Well, let's just say she performed in the Nitro era.
Wouldn't that make her older?
I did not realize that.
She was on an episode of WCW Nitro in like 1997.
Yeah. She's in a red like singlet, like the Speedo singlet. It's weird. Yeah. But yes, that is
Miko Satomura is 42, just to be the stat
42.
boy.
Wow, I just think what someone like that with that level of life experience and in-ring experience, behind the scenes politics experience, how much they can share and help the women who are developing down there. That's just wow.
I mean, the real question is, I want to watch the thing because is Bray Wyatt going to show up? If they're going to bring back Braun Strowman, how are they not going to bring back Bray Wyatt, for goodness sakes?
I think it's more of a timing thing with Bray. Like everybody always knew he was going to go back, him and WWE included, whether Vince was there or not. They're just going to be, I think, a bigger expectation.
Okay, then when does Sasha come back?
Does she?
SummerSlam. Or sorry, Survivor Series.
SummerSlam. Shit, that was like a
Sorry,
month ago.
no, Survivor Series. Survivor Series is in Boston. Sasha's from Boston.
Yeah, that makes sense, Steve.
Can I,
and then they're gonna let her make money. They're gonna let her make her own money up to and including November.
can I say what I hope happens? Not that she needs to drop a pipe bomb, but I want her to come out, right? She comes out, everybody does the pop, then the next show, she gets on the microphone, she does her usual, it's the boss back in the building, blah, 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 But then, I want the next word, now, who's that punk bitch that told me I took my ball and went home? But, really, go there, obviously it was Vince, but just kind of make it into, a storyline. Just, I don't know, I really think that could be, her moment to really be yo, this girl's fucking legit. They could really, get on, because every time she talks on the mic, it's always I'm the boss and I'm this, I cannot watch, or I cannot even think about her interview with Steve Austin, because I'm oh my god, she really believes in all the hype, I don't know if you guys ever saw it. It's I don't know, it's I can't watch it, but yeah, I just wanted to go down and be you know what, who was talking shit about me? All right, well, say it to my face, I think
I would not hate that.
Yeah. I don't know.
And especially with that whole Riddle promo that happened this past Monday, maybe they're gonna try some new things and whatnot,
Maybe. I mean, I'd like for that to happen too. Only time will tell. I feel. I don't know. Steve, anything you're looking forward to at Clash?
No.
Okay.
Of the three big shows this weekend, Clash of the Castle oddly is the one I'm least excited for. I think Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, we've seen it before.
Yeah.
But not like this.
Sure. I'll believe it when I see it. I should clarify, I'm gonna check in on Clash of the Castle, but I do think of the three, I think of the three, Monday morning, we're gonna be talking about how Worlds Collide might have stolen the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's no way.
Okay.
There's no way that's going to be a better show from a freaking performance center.
Huh?
Okay.
What about
right.
the star ratings, though?
Yeah, exactly.
Star ratings? What the hell is that? Let me just defend why I think this match is important. Yes, we've seen it before. Well, guess what? We also saw Rock and Austin back in '97. But guess what? It still meant something in '99 and 2001. Right, we saw Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, at WrestleMania 35, the same way we saw Rock and Austin at WrestleMania 15. But yet it was even bigger and better at WrestleMania 17. And don't be saying because it was the My Way promo by Limp Bizkit, but now here's two guys that, yes, they fought in a non-title with no belts on the line because neither one was champion at 35. But guess what? Now it's WrestleMania 30. Now it's Clash of the Castle. A stadium show, first stadium show in Europe in 30 years. Each one, Drew McIntyre, he deserves this, right? He won his first title in front of an empty crowd. He won his second title in front of an empty crowd. Now he's coming, I know it's not his hometown, but now he's coming to the United Kingdom, in front of his people, in front of what? 60,000 people. How is somebody not going to be pumped up for that one? And it's going to be with Roman Reigns, whether you like him or not, he is the guy. He is he gets the biggest pop. He gets the biggest reaction. He's just the guy to be right now. And he's going to be the guy to beat this upcoming Saturday at Clash of the Castle.
I agree. And I will actually support it even further, right? I don't know if you guys have seen it, but within the last week or so, they've had the special edition Blu-rays of SummerSlam. Right, that was the last, Brett and what was that, George? '93.
Which one? I'm sorry.
SummerSlam. Brett.
'92.
'92.
Yeah.
So they basically just did a reissue of that on Blu-ray, right? The 30th anniversary edition. So people who have had their hands on that for the last like couple days or whatever, going into Clash at the Castle, that's a little bit more of an incentive for like it's almost priming for a Drew win. And I don't know how you could walk out of whatever. Where are they in Wales, Scotland, wherever
Cardiff, Wales, I think.
Yeah. So in Cardiff, right? I don't think Drew McIntyre walks out of there without a title. But I do see your Austin Theory kind of scenario where he cashes in. That could also happen too. So yeah. So
I see that as the only way Drew McIntyre wins.
Really?
And that's nothing against Drew McIntyre, the man or the performer. I just think if they're really trying to go in a brand new direction, I think doing something like that with the heels that they've never done before, like WWE historically has always been a babyface town, if you will. So much so that the idea of them just ending a show on heat like that is so rare for them that I think
they did it with Seth Rollins.
But like how rare? But that's rare comparatively.
They did it with Sheamus.
So it's 2 out of your last 10 years worth of shows.
Yeah.
You're gonna say Austin Theory at the Money in the Bank we were at, so that's 3.
Yeah.
Historically, they have.
Happening.
Okay.
Austin Theory's not going to leave as champion, and you can bet on it.
Okay.
I'm looking for odds right now.
Yeah, it's $50. So, George, how can they find all of the things that you're doing over at the Wrestling Chatter, sir?
Oh, we're done? I thought we were just getting started. You can follow me at GHermoza, GHERMOZA. You can follow the Wrestling Chatter, youtube.com/the Wrestling Chatter. I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion real quick. I mean, if we're wrapping up, whatever. But like,
go for it, George.
I don't know what it is. Like, I've been getting this, and I texted Steve about it. I've been getting this like inkling. Like, should I do one of those like trading cards, like opening pack? You know, like, is that a thing? Like, I saw one video had like a couple thousand views, but another one had like 450,000 views. Like, is that a thing? Like, me opening up a pack of WWE trading cards? Like, how do I even know which ones are valuable?
I don't know. Anybody have any context?
I think the fact that
I don't want to watch you do that.
I would argue from a content standpoint, the fact that you also don't know what is and isn't valuable, but a lot about the people. Because the video I sent you that we were doing a little recon on, the guy knew a lot about Topps cards, and he knew nothing about wrestling. He got most of the people's names wrong. So what I think is somebody who knows a lot about wrestling and not a lot about Topps cards would at a minimum be a unique piece of content in that sphere. So if you're asking me if you should invest a couple $100 on a big thing on Topps cards so you can unbox them for a video, yes, absolutely.
It's $200 for a box.
Yes. But a box is like 9 packs though, right?
I want to do something that Christy is going to be interested in watching.
Oh.
Because she clearly is not interested in me opening up a pack of trading cards.
We'll call it searching for Christy because technically speaking, she could be in one of those packs.
True.
Ooh,
I'm sorry.
also-
I'm sorry, Christy St. Cloud could be in one of those packs.
That would make it more interesting for me.
Right.
Personally.
What if, Christy, I'm just going to throw this out to you. If George Hermosa does a taste review of a Hailey Bieber smoothie, would that be something that interests you rather than the
what?
card?
You know, I see where you're going with this. Maybe not that in particular, but maybe George doing unexpected things is more where we're going there.
Okay.
You know,
Sure.
there's a way to keep things wrestling-y, George, but still doing other fun, cool stuff. And I don't know, you're an actual trained wrestler. So I would start there with some like fun in the ring stuff. Like,
Why don't you text me with
maybe
some
you are
ideas?
doing the Topps card, but then you're like, this guy, you like cut a promo on him, and then you like do a move on him,
Ooh.
on the card. Bam.
I
You
think
know?
there's money there.
Yeah. You'll find a way to zhuzh it up. I take it back.
And
I will.
apparently, McMack just turned into a cannibal because he ate Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster, for lunch. So
How is this not? How is this not on Twitter yet? Terry Taylor's no longer with us. Micmac ate him.
I know. That's. Yeah.
I have a
Terry
question
Taylor.
for Steve, though.
Yes,
Okay.
And will
Will
Ryback
you be
return and
ordering
beat
All Out?
Roman?
Wow,
Oh.
we're just. I don't believe.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a match that nobody will watch. Specifically me. Ryback versus Roman. That's you might as
No,
well.
but what if
throw Roman-
Ryback is the secret entrant in the casino ladder match?
Oh
That'd be
yes,
awesome.
and they just beat them all to hell. I don't know. Yeah.
What happened?
But we were talking about interesting pieces of content. I mean, Steve Kaufmann, interesting pieces of content is what you specialize in, right?
So if you go to stevekaufman.com, that brings you to a link tree that shows you everything I'm involved in, because I've reached such a critical mass that it would take all day for me to list out everything I'm up to. The big things I'm up to right now, youtube.com/click this, Kevin Nash's podcast, that is doing incredible. I think we did about 2.5 million monetized views. So that's like 2.7, 2.8 million views in the month of August. So like that's a big thing for me, you know, and my professional and financial aspirations. Speaking of my financial aspirations, the second biggest thing in my world right now is youtube.com/KCVault/join. Go there, spend $14.99, and you're going to get access to 500 plus hours of pro wrestling talk content, a lot of which has never been released on YouTube before. And even if it has, it's not up there now. I made sure of it. Those are the two big things. Those are the two big things I'm working on right now, on top of the 18 other projects that fall through my purview.
Damn, Steve. And Micmac giving us a little bit of clarity. He says apparently Red Rooster is a chicken shop. Not in my mind, Micmac. You ate Terry Taylor and you want us to feed you more. I guess. Right on.
That makes sense.
Right, exactly. I'm According to Woods. You can find me on all the According to Woods places and everything, memes, podcasts. But in true After 83 Weeks fashion, we're ending it with one Christy Olson. Where can they find all the amazing stuff that you're doing, Mademoiselle?
So sweet, thank you. I'm a TikToker now, guys. Not in following, but in practice. So if you want to head over at Christy Reports on TikTok, a lot of fun wrestling related content there, and let me know also what you want to see. You guys can reach out to me anywhere at Christy Reports. I always love to hear from you, and I will definitely be watching AEW this weekend. So let's connect. Tell me what you think. Give me your predictions.
You're watching the pay-per-view?
Hell yes.
I'll watch it all out. Yeah.
Oh, can we come over?
Please.
There you go. There you go. So I guess he's making the rounds. He's Phil Collins in Live Aid, right? Where he makes a transcontinental deal. So he'll be in Chicago and at Christy Olson's place at the same time.
Love it.
So can't wait to see it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining us here. And go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Zeta Zhang will also help convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe.